Ciao, and welcome to Immersion Travel Italy. I'm Caterina Ferrara, travel author, blogger, and your host. This podcast is about experiencing Italy beyond the checklist, slowing down, paying attention, and understanding places not for what you see, but for why they matter. This is episode 14 of 20 in our Regional Capitals of Italy series, where we're traveling north to south, region by region, uncovering the cities that shape Italy's identity far beyond the headlines. We visited regional capitals in the north, towns you may or may not have heard of, like Aosta, Trento, and Trieste. Of course, Milan, Venice, and Genoa. We also visited the powerhouse of central Italy capitals such as Florence, Rome, and Bologna. In today's episode, we're traveling south to Naples and the region of Campania. This is part one of a two-part journey. Naples is not a city that fits neatly into a single episode, so I'm forced to split this capital into two. Its history, its artisans and craftsmen, and geography demand more time. Mount Vesuvius looms constantly in the background. The Amalfi Coast curves around the bay. Ancient cities like Pompeii and Caserta sit within easy reach, alongside long, family-friendly sand beaches farther north near Formia. Naples is a city you absorb over time, a city you survive, negotiate, and slowly come to understand. And because of that depth, we needed a little more time for our story to unfold. Naples is dramatic, layered, chaotic, deeply faithful, fiercely proud, and unapologetically itself. It's one of the most historically important cities in Italy, and in many ways, one of the most misunderstood. The city is shaped by extremes: sea and fire, beauty and danger, devotion and defiance. The Bay of Naples opens wide in front of it, while Mount Vesuvius looms constantly behind. A reminder that life here has always been lived with awareness of risk. Long before Italy existed as a nation, Naples was already a powerhouse. Founded by the Greeks, refined by the Romans, shaped by the Byzantines, Normans, Angevins, Aragonese, Spanish rulers, Bourbons, revolutionaries, and everyday people who learned how to endure. Naples has never been quiet or passive. In this episode, we begin at the heart of Naples itself. We'll walk the ancient streets, descend beneath them, step inside churches where faith is lived rather than displayed, and experience the city of food, artisans, and daily ritual. We'll talk about why Naples feels the way it does and why that feeling matters. In part two, which will arrive next Friday, we'll widen the lens. We'll move our experiences outward into Campania, along the Amalfi Coast, to the islands, to royal palaces, and day trips that reveal how deeply this region connects landscape, history, and identity. This is Naples and Campania Part 1. Naples is a city with a long memory and a region that rewards those willing to listen. Let's begin. Now that we've set the stage, we'll step back, far back, long before Italy existed, long before Rome ruled the Mediterranean, long before Naples was noisy, crowded, and chaotic the way we know it today. Picture the coastline as an ancient world once saw it. A sheltered bay, fresh water nearby, fertile volcanic soil, a natural harbor that was protected by hills and islands. It was irresistible. In the 8th century BC, Greek settlers from Cumae, one of the oldest Greek colonies in Italy, established a small settlement along the coast called Parthenope. According to legend, the name came from a siren whose body washed ashore here, linking the city from the very beginning to myth, seduction, and danger. But Parthenope was only the beginning. A few centuries later, in the 6th century BC, the Greeks rebuilt and expanded the city slightly inland, creating Neapolis, meaning the new city. The name survives almost unchanged to this day. Greek Naples was carefully planned. Straight streets, organized blocks, public spaces. The origin grid is still here, buried beneath modern Naples. Even today, when you walk along Spaccanapoli, you are following the Greek street layout from more than 2,500 years ago. Naples was Greek in language, religion, art, and identity long after much of southern Italy had changed. This deep Greek foundation explains why Naples has felt culturally distinct from Rome, even under Roman rule. By the 4th century BC, Naples became part of the Roman world, but in a way that was unusually gentle. Rather than being crushed or erased, Naples was absorbed. The Romans were enthralled with Greek culture, and Naples became a place where elite Romans came to study philosophy, literature, and the arts in the Greek tradition. Naples became a city of villas, theaters, baths, and intellectual life. Nearby coastal towns like Pompeii and Herculaneum flourished alongside it, forming one of the most cultured and luxurious regions in Roman Italy. It was also during the Roman period that Naples developed its underground world. Tunnels, aqueducts, cisterns, and burial chambers were carved into soft volcanic rock. The underground Naples still exists, layer upon layer, and will later become critical to the city's survival during invasions, plagues, and wars. When the Roman Empire began to weaken, Naples did not collapse overnight. It adapted. As the Western Roman Empire fell apart in the 5th century AD, Naples entered a long period of uncertainty. Empires shifted, armies marched through, power changed hands repeatedly. Christianity took deep root here. The Catholic saints, their relics, and protective figures became central to Neapolitan life. Faith was not abstract, it was personal, protective, and urgent. This deep spiritual culture would later define Naples more than almost any other Italian city. Naples became part of the Byzantine world, maintaining ties to Constantinople long after Rome itself had fallen. Greek language and customs persisted, reinforcing Naples' sense of being different, older, and more complex than its neighbors. In the early Middle Ages, Naples had become the Duchy of Naples, technically under Byzantine authority but increasingly independent in practice. The city was learning how to govern itself in a fractured world. Naples developed its own rulers, its own alliances, its own survival strategies. It traded, negotiated, and defended itself from Lombards, Saracens, and rival powers. It was not a quiet period. It was dangerous, unstable, and creative. Naples learned resilience here, the kind of resilience that comes from never being fully protected by anyone else. Everything changed in the 11th century with the arrival of the Normans, originally warriors of Viking descent who had settled in northern France and were first hired as mercenaries before seizing control of southern Italy. They were far more ambitious than anyone expected. City by city, they took control of southern Italy. When Naples finally fell under Norman influence, it marked the end of centuries of relative independence. But it also marked the beginning of Naples' rise as a true capital city. The Normans unified southern Italy, laying the groundwork for the Kingdom of Sicily, and Naples became increasingly important politically, strategically, and economically. Fortifications were strengthened, power was centralized. The medieval city began to take the shape that would define it for centuries. Naples was no longer just trying to survive history, it was starting to stand at its center. Under the Normans, southern Italy and Sicily were united into what became the Kingdom of Sicily. Naples, though yet not the primary capital, grew in importance as a strategic mainland city. The Normans brought order, administration, and fortification. They built castles, strengthened city walls, and centralized power. Naples became more militarized and more political. The city expanded beyond its Greek core, slowly taking on a medieval character. The Norman legacy in Naples is one of structure. They turned a resilient city into a functioning capital in waiting. In the 13th century, Naples entered a new and dramatic phase under the House of Anjou. When the Angevins took control, Naples became the capital of the Kingdom of Naples. It was a turning point. Naples was no longer a secondary city. It was now one of the most important capitals in Europe. The Angevins reshaped the city physically and culturally. They built the Castel Nuovo, also known as the Maschio Angionino, as a symbol of royal authority. Universities were founded, administration expanded, and trade increased. Naples grew crowded, noisy, and vibrant. Power attracted people. Artists, scholars, merchants, and clergy flooded in. The medieval city thickened, layering itself over ancient foundations. In the 15th century, Naples passed to the House of Aragon, ushering in a period of Renaissance transformation. The Aragonese rulers embraced art, architecture, and humanism. They expanded the Castel Nuovo, turning it into a Renaissance palace fortress. Streets widened, noble palaces rose. Naples became a cultural bridge between Italy and Spain. By this point, Naples was one of the larger cities in Europe. Its population rivaled Paris and London. It was wealthy, crowded, and deeply stratified. Nobility and poverty lived side by side, a pattern that still defines the city today. From the 16th century onward, Naples fell under Spanish Habsburg rule as part of the Spanish Empire. This period left a deep imprint. Naples was ruled by Spanish viceroys, not kings who lived in the city. Wealth flowed out. Taxes were heavy. The population exploded. The gap between rich and poor widened dramatically. Yet this was also a period of intense religious expression in art and popular culture. Baroque churches multiplied. Public rituals, processions, and devotions became central to daily life. Naples developed its unique blend of deep faith and street-level spirituality. This was a city that learned how to endure hardship with creativity and defiance. In the 18th century, Naples entered one of its most important eras under the House of Bourbon. The Bourbons ruled the Kingdom of Naples, later the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, making Naples their central capital. This was not a backwater kingdom. It was one of the largest and wealthiest states in Italy. The Bourbons invested heavily in Naples. They built theaters, palaces, roads, and infrastructure. The city became a scientific and cultural center. Naples had one of Europe's earliest railway lines. Its opera house became world famous. Its royal court rivaled those in Northern Europe. But tension simmered beneath the surface. Enlightenment ideas spread, calls for reform grew louder, and Naples was powerful but also fragile. The Napoleonic era reached Naples in early 1806. Napoleon again. After defeating Austrian forces, Napoleon Bonaparte moved to eliminate Bourbon control in southern Italy. King Ferdinand IV of Bourbon fled Naples in January of 1806, escaping by sea to Sicily under British protection. French troops entered Naples on February 15, 1806. Napoleon Bonaparte directed the invasion of Naples, but he did not enter the city himself. Napoleon did not rule Naples personally. Instead, he installed his brother, Joseph Bonaparte, as the King of Naples in March 1806. When Joseph was later promoted to the Spanish throne, Napoleon replaced him with his brother-in-law, Joachim Murat, who ruled from 1808 to 1815. So you're probably asking yourself, did Napoleon loot the art and sculpture from Naples like he did from Milan, Rome, and Florence, as we discussed in previous episodes? The answer: some works from the royal collections, churches, and the suppressed monasteries were sent to Paris and absorbed into French-controlled collections. Naples is the gateway to Pompeii, and some antiques were removed, or shall we say, gifted to French collections. Also, Naples was a major intellectual center holding manuscripts, scientific instruments, and monasteries with significant libraries. Some of these were dispersed after the religious brotherhoods were suppressed by Napoleon and the French. Some examples of works that landed in French hands, not necessarily in the Louvre, include the Madonna of the Dove by Piero di Cosimo, painted in 1490. Cimabue's Virgin and Child, painted in 1280. St. Luke painting the Virgin by Luca Giordano, painted in 1660. The Adoration of the Magi, or the Three Kings, painted by Giuseppe de Ribera, also called Lo Spagnoletto, painted in 1635. During this period, Naples was officially a Napoleonic kingdom, governed according to French revolutionary and imperial principles. Feudal privileges were abolished. Legal and administrative reforms were introduced. Church lands were confiscated, monasteries closed, and a modern bureaucracy began to replace centuries-old systems. But these reforms divided the Neapolitan society. Urban elites, intellectuals, and reformers often supported the French changes. Rural populations and traditionalists remained loyal to the Bourbons. The city became politically restless, caught between old loyalties and new ideas. After Napoleon's defeat, the Congress of Vienna restored Bourbon rule. In June 1815, Ferdinand IV returned to Naples, reclaiming the throne and later renaming the state to the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. The 19th century brought about the moment that would define Naples forever, and that is Italian unification, also called the Risorgimento. In 1860, Giuseppe Garibaldi entered Naples, with almost no resistance. The Kingdom of Two Sicilies collapsed. Naples was absorbed into newly unified Kingdom of Italy. For Naples, unification was not triumph, it was loss. The city went from being a capital of a major kingdom to a southern city ruled from the north. Industries declined, investment shifted northward, poverty deepened, and resentment grew. Many of the economic and social changes Naples faces today trace directly back to this moment. During World War I, Naples was not a frontline city, but it felt the strain deeply. Young men were sent to fight. Food shortages hit hard. Economic hardship intensified. Naples endured quietly, as it often does, suffering without ceremony. World War II brought devastation. Naples was heavily bombed due to its port and strategic importance. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed. Civilians suffered enormously. In September 1943, something extraordinary happened. The population of Naples rose up against occupying German forces and what became known as the 4 Days of Naples. Ordinary citizens fought street by street. When Allied troops arrived, the Germans had already been driven out. Naples liberated itself. This moment remains one of the most powerful chapters in the city's history, a reminder of the fierce independence and refusal to submit quietly. After the war, Naples rebuilt, slowly and imperfectly. Poverty, migration, and political neglect continued, but so did resilience, creativity, and cultural force. Naples today is the result of every era layered on top of each other. Greek streets, Roman tunnels, medieval castles, Baroque churches, Bourbon palaces, war scars, modern life pulsing through it all. Naples has been a kingdom, a capital, a prize, a problem, and a survivor. Our next section will be our walking tour. Of course, as always, this podcast has an associated blog on my website, caterinaferrara.com. So if you'd like the walking tour written down, that's where you can find it. Let's explore Naples the way it reveals itself best, on foot, layer by layer. This walk moves through the historic center and then opens outward toward the sea, following the same rhythm Naples itself has followed for more than 2,000 years. Our first section is Spaccanapoli. Spaccanapoli is the street that quite literally splits the old city in two. This road follows the exact line of Naples' original Greek streets, laid out in the 6th century BC, when it was Neapolis. Stand here and imagine a perfectly ordered grid beneath your feet. Greek merchants, philosophers, and sailors moving through a city that already felt ancient, even in Roman times. Today's Spaccanapoli is loud, crowded, alive. Laundry hangs overhead, voices echo between buildings, churches and palazzi press in on either side. Nothing about it is polished, and that's the point. This is Naples in its uninterrupted form. Naples may be famous for pizza, but for many families, ours included, the pastries here are just as unforgettable. Some of the most famous, historic, and constantly top-rated pasticcerie, pastry shops, are on the edge of the historic center, and I want to cover a couple of them for you as you start your walk. The first one is Antica Pasticceria Scatturcio. It was founded in 1905, and it's a true Neapolitan institution near Piazza San Domenico Maggiore, famous for baba, sfogliatella, and the iconic minestrelle, a chocolate and liquor pastry created for a government minister. Old world, unapologetically rich, and deeply traditional. There's also Pasticceria Pintauro, founded in 1816, often credited with perfecting the modern sfogliatella riccia. You smell butter and sugar before you see the door. Still baking continuously through the day, and one of the most authentic pastry experiences in Naples. Before I continue through our list of pasticcerie, I probably should tell you what these things are. The baba is a soft, yeast-raised cake soaked in rum syrup. Spongy and airy, it absorbs the liquid until it becomes rich and intensely fragrant. Originally inspired by Central European baking, the baba was adopted and perfected in Naples, where it became one of the city's most iconic desserts, often served plain or with whipped cream or filled with custard. The sfogliatella is a crisp, shell-shaped pastry made of dozens of ultra-thin layers of dough, baked until golden and flaky. Inside, a rich filling made from ricotta, semolina, sugar, citrus peel, and spices. The contrast between the cracking exterior and the creamy, aromatic filling is what makes this sfogliatella one of Naples' most beloved pastries. I will put pictures of these pastries in the blog so you can see them for yourself. Another pasticceria is called Sfogliatella Mary. It's a small, no-frills shop beloved by locals for fresh, hot sfogliatella and excellent baba. What it lacks in decor, it more than makes up for in quality. This is a working pastry counter, not a cafe for performance. But we will talk about that next. The Grand Café Gambrinus, founded in 1860. It's an elegant, historical, and theatrical coffee shop, famous for pastries, chocolate, and espresso. Gambrinus pairs beautifully with a stop at Piazza del Plebiscito or the Teatro San Carlo. It is exceptional. The next spot I want to mention is Leopoldo Infante, founded in 1940. This refined pasticceria is known for consistency and craftsmanship. Its excellent mignon pastries, baba, and seasonal specialties are well known. It's a good balance between tradition and polish. I also want to talk about coffee in Naples. Naples has a very special coffee experience, and one of my husband's favorites is crema di caffè, sometimes affectionately called caffè del nonno, or grandfather's coffee. It's not an iced coffee. Crema di caffè is a cold, whipped coffee cream, smooth and airy, almost like a coffee mousse or a soft granita. It's made with strong espresso, sugar, and air, beaten until light and spoonable. In the summer, it's served ice cold, often in a glass, sometimes topped with a bit of cream. It's refreshing, energizing, and deeply Neapolitan. The last time we were in Naples, I didn't start drinking coffee yet, so I haven't tried it in Naples, but my husband absolutely loved it and stands by it as the best coffee in Italy. You order it generally standing at the bar, mid-morning or late afternoon, especially in hot weather. Locals do not sip it slowly. They enjoy it decisively. It's generally quite small. It fits Naples perfectly. Strong, sweet, and intimate. Okay, back to our walking tour. Our second stop is a very important one, and that's the Duomo di San Gennaro. San Gennaro is Naples' cathedral. It was primarily built in the 13th and 14th centuries. This is the heart of the city. Inside, Naples' relationship with its patron saint, San Gennaro, becomes tangible. His relics are housed here, and several times a year, the city holds its breath, waiting to see if his dried blood will liquefy. When it does, it is celebrated as protection for Naples. When it does not, fear spreads, and I will tell you, it did not during COVID. Very interesting. Faith in Naples is visceral, and its survival. Let's talk more about the miracle. Naples' bond with San Gennaro is renewed twice a year with its festival. The most important celebration takes place on September 19th, the saint's feast day, commemorating his martyrdom in AD 305. The second major moment occurs on the Saturday before the first Sunday in May, recalling the translation of his relics to Naples. On these days, the reliquary containing his dried blood is brought out before the faithful inside the Duomo. I've seen it. It's magnificent. When the blood liquefies, the bells ring, applause erupts, and relief spreads throughout the city. When it does not, unease follows. This is symbolic faith for Neapolitans. For them, San Gennaro is protector, negotiator, and the last line of defense against disaster. His miracle reflects the city's long history of living under constant threat, from volcanoes to war, and trusting in both resilience and divine intervention. I want to mention Pizzeria da Michele. It's located just east of the Duomo on Via Cesare Cersale. It's at the edge of the historic center, near the Forcella district. From the cathedral, it's an easy 10-minute walk, and from our next stop, it's even closer. Da Michele opened in 1870, and it's considered one of the birthplaces of Neapolitan pizza in its purest form. The menu has never changed. It only has two things: a margherita pizza and a marinara pizza. It's not branding, it's philosophy. Inside, the space is simple and functional. Marble tables, fast-moving staff, pizza served in a steady rhythm from the wood fire oven. Locals eat quickly, visitors wait patiently. You don't linger here. It's a place to participate in this experience, this ritual that Naples has perfected over generations. Eating here connects directly to Naples that you have walked through. The same city that built cathedrals and underground aqueducts also built food that meant to be fast food, even in the 1800s. Something I want to mention, when we went, there was a line. There is usually a line. It's a famous place for the birthplace of pizza. It doesn't take long. Tickets are taken at the door and called in order, so make sure you get one. Meals are quick, and I'm talking 30 minutes from when you're seated to when you're out of there. And it's an ideal stop after the morning sightseeing before continuing west towards Santa Chiara or the Castel Nuovo. The pizza was delicious. Me and my husband and son waited a bit, but we're happy to eat here in this tradition. We had a marinara, which is just a pizza with red sauce, and we ordered 2 margaritas. And the margarita, you probably know, it's a red sauce with buffalo mozzarella and basil. The name Margherita Pizza is traditionally tied to Queen Margherita of Savoy, who visited Naples in 1889. According to popular legend, a local pizza maker prepared a pizza in her honor using tomatoes, mozzarella, and basil to reflect the colors of the newly unified Italian flag. The queen is said to have favored this simple combination, and the pizza took her name. Whether this story is fully documented or partly romanticized, the result is lasting. Eating here is an experience and something I highly recommend when you're in town. From the cathedral, we turn on to San Gregorio Armeno, a narrow street famous for its nativity scene workshops. This tradition dates back to at least the 18th century, but its roots are older. Today, artisans create intricate Presepe nativity scenes that mix daily life with sacred life. The Holy Family stands beside politicians, celebrities, shopkeepers, and football heroes. The blending of faith and daily life is deeply Neapolitan. Nothing is too sacred to be separated from reality. We'll talk more about this street later. The next stop just a few steps away is Cappella San Severo, and it's one of the most haunting and unforgettable spaces in Naples. It's not a large church. It's intimate, controlled, and almost theatrical in its silence. The chapel was built in the late 1500s. It was radically transformed in the 18th century by Raimondo di Sangro, prince, scientist, inventor, and intellectual whose interests straddled Enlightenment science and what many contemporaries considered dangerous experimentation. He filled the space with symbols, coded imagery, and works designed to provoke awe and unease. At the center lies the Veiled Christ, completed in 1753 by Giuseppe San Martino. At first glance, it feels impossible. The veil appears transparent, delicately clinging to the contours of Christ's face and body, revealing veins, muscle, tension, and even the imprint of suffering beneath the marble. Visitors instinctively move closer, searching for seams or tricks. There are none. The veil was carved from a single piece of stone. The effect is profound. Conversations stop, and the room becomes reverent without instruction. Beyond the Veiled Christ, the chapel contains other unsettling works, including the famous anatomical machines, long rumored to be the result of chemical experiments. Whether myth or science, they reinforce the sense that this chapel exists at the intersection of faith, curiosity, and obsession. A few practical notes. Entry to the Cappella San Severo is strictly controlled, and tickets must be booked in advance. Visits are timed, and you'll spend about 20 minutes inside. Because of its popularity, it's best to schedule it early in the day. The Cappella San Severo reflects a side of Naples that fascinates and unsettles in equal measure. Number 5 on our list of sights to see is Napoli Sotterranea. It's not just a stop, it's an experience. At Napoli Sotterranea, we descend beneath the streets of modern Naples and move backward in time, far backward. Stone staircases lead down into spaces carved by the Greeks over 2,400 years ago. These chambers were later expanded by the Romans into an elaborate aqueduct system, supplying water to the city above. Massive cisterns, channels cut directly into the volcanic tuff, and hand-carved passageways reveal how advanced and resourceful ancient Naples truly was. Centuries later, these same underground spaces took on new roles. During invasions, they became hiding places. During World War II, they became bomb shelters, packed with families listening to explosions above their heads. You see inscriptions, graffiti, and remnants of daily life left behind in monuments of fear and survival. This is one of the most memorable experiences in Naples because it makes the city's layered history physical. You don't read about Greek or Roman Naples here, you walk through it. Practical notes. Underground is cool year-round, even in the summer, so bring a sweatshirt or jacket. The visit lasts between 75 and 90 minutes. The passages are narrow and dim, so comfortable shoes are essential. And this experience must be booked as a guided tour. Independent access is not permitted. The guides are a key part of the experience, providing historical context and managing safe passage through the tunnels. Booking in advance is strongly recommended. Our next stop is Santa Chiara. Back in the light, we reach Santa Chiara, a vast Gothic basilica and monastic complex founded in 1310 during the Angevin period. Unlike the ornate Baroque churches scattered across Naples, Santa Chiara feels restrained and monumental, almost austere, its soaring interior reflecting the Franciscan ideals of simplicity and devotion. Step into the cloister and the city noise disappears. Maiolica tiled benches from the 1700s line the garden paths, their hand-painted panels depicting pastoral scenes, village life, and idyllic landscapes that feel almost dreamlike. Orange trees and flowering plants soften the geometry of the space, turning the cloister into a place of quiet contemplation rather than grandeur. The serene beauty hides behind a dramatic past. St. Clair was heavily damaged during World War II bombings, when much of the interior was destroyed by fire. What you see today is the result of a careful post-war restoration, which stripped away later Baroque additions and returned the church to its original Gothic form. The result is a space that feels both ancient and modern at once. The complex is dedicated to St. Clair of Assisi, who we talked about in our Assisi episode a few weeks back. She was the close companion and spiritual counterpart of St. Francis. Like Francis, Clare embraced poverty, humility, and devotion, founding the Order of the Poor Clares. Her story and legacy connect Naples directly to Assisi and Umbria, themes we explored more deeply in the Assisi episode. The Feast of St. Clair is celebrated on August 11th. Now we're going to move west toward Castel Nuovo. Built in the 1200s by the Angevins and later expanded by the Aragonese, this fortress was both a royal residence and a military stronghold. Its massive stone walls and triumphal arch announce power. This was Naples as a capital city. There is a ticket required to enter the castle, and it includes access to the interior of the castle, the Museo Civico, or the Civic Museum, medieval and Renaissance halls, the Palatine Chapel, towers and interior courtyards, and exhibitions and archaeological remains. Plan on 90 minutes if you visit the interior. A festival that happens here is called Estate a Napoli, and it's a number of summer events held at the castle, including open-air concerts, chamber music, jazz performances, literary talks, and cultural evenings. Our next stop is Piazza del Plebiscito. That includes the Royal Palace and the Church of San Francesco di Paola. The city opens suddenly onto Piazza del Plebiscito, one of the grandest and most symbolic public squares in Italy. After tight streets of the historic center, the scale unfolds in an almost theatrical and whimsical way. And this was intentional. The square was designed to project power. Naples here presents itself as a capital city. During the Bourbon era, when Naples ruled the kingdom of two Sicilies, this space became the ceremonial heart of the city. Military parades passed through, royal appearances unfolded here. The city performed its authority in stone and space. On one side stands the Royal Palace of Naples, begun in 1600 under Spanish rule and later transformed by the Bourbons. For centuries, this was not just a residence, but a working seat of government. Kings ruled from the rooms. Diplomats were received. Policies that shaped southern Italy were decided behind these walls. Today, the Royal Palace is a museum open to the public. Inside, visitors move through richly decorated state apartments, grand staircases, throne rooms, and private chambers that still carry the weight of the monarchy. Portraits of Bourbon rulers line the walls. The scale of the rooms makes clear that Naples once saw itself as equal to Europe's great royal capitals. Facing the palace across the square rises San Francesco di Paola, a massive neoclassical church completed in 1816. Its colonnaded facade deliberately echoes the Pantheon in Rome. The church was commissioned by the Bourbons after the fall of Napoleon as both a religious and political statement. It symbolized restoration, order, and divine legitimacy after years of upheaval. Faith and power were once again aligned in stone. Step back and take it all in. The palace represents the monarchy. The church represents divine authority. The open square between them represents the people. Just behind the grandeur of Piazza del Plebiscito lies a very different Naples. This is the Quartiere Spagnoli, the Spanish Quarter. Built in the 16th century under Spanish rule, this neighborhood was originally designed to house Spanish soldiers stationed in Naples. The streets were laid out in a narrow and dense plan, making movement easy to control and surveillance simple. From the beginning, this was a working-class quarter, never intended for beauty or ceremony. For much of the 20th century, the Quartiere Spagnoli had a difficult reputation. Crowded, poor, avoided by visitors. We accidentally ended up in the Quartiere Spagnoli in 2010, and I will tell you, I was uncomfortable, but they're experiencing a renaissance now. Walking through the Spanish Quarter now, you find vibrant street life, murals covering entire building facades, small bars and trattorias spilling into stairways, laundry hanging overhead, but now framed by cafes, artisan shops, and creative spaces. The famous murals of Diego Maradona, Naples' adopted hero, are treated almost like sacred icons. Our next stop is the theater, The Teatro di San Carlo opened in 1737 and still performing today. It's the oldest continuously operating opera house in Europe, older than La Scala in Milan, older than Paris Opera. It's not a historic shell, it's a working theater. Inside, the horseshoe-shaped auditorium glows with red velvet, gilded balconies, and some of the finest acoustics in the world. The design was intentional. Sound here does not need amplification. It was built for voices to carry naturally, reaching every corner with clarity. The theater operates year-round. The main opera and ballet season generally runs from late fall through early summer, roughly November through June. Summer months also include special performances, concerts, visiting orchestras, and ballet companies you can visit without attending a performance. The theater offers guided daytime tours, allowing visitors to see the royal box, the auditorium, and the stage. Our last stop, we made it. We end at the water at Castel dell'Ovo, Naples' oldest castle, rising from the small island of Megaride. This was the site of ancient Parthenope, the city's earliest Greek settlement, and it feels fitting to finish our walk where Naples began. Entry is free. We enjoyed it several days on our trip. No ticket is required to enter the castle. You can come and go multiple times, as we did. Locals do exactly that. They wander in, step out on the terraces, take in the view, look over the water, and leave again. The castle functions less like a museum and more like a public park. Terraces here offer some of the best panoramic views in Naples. You can see Mount Vesuvius rising across the bay, the curve of the waterfront, the dense city stacked behind you. The atmosphere shifts from the time of day. Morning is quieter, late afternoon and sunset are especially beautiful when the stone glows and the sea turns silver. Legend says that the poet Virgil hid a magical egg within the foundations of the castle. As long as the egg remains intact, Naples will stand. If it ever breaks, disaster will follow. Like many legends of Napoli, it blends poetry, superstition, and a very real awareness of fragility. Access is free, but opening hours can vary by season. Some interior areas may close temporarily for exhibitions. Standing here, you can see it all. Ancient foundations, medieval walls, Baroque domes, and modern Naples pressing in behind them. The Castel dell'Ovo frequently hosts outdoor concerts, art exhibitions, cultural installations, and occasional film screenings. Events can take place on the terraces or along the seafront promenade. There's also a cafe at the foot of the castle, and we really enjoyed sitting there and watching the boats of the marina come and go. If you're eating dinner in Naples, at least one of these belongs on the table. The first one is ragu napolitano. Ragu of Naples is cooked very slowly, often for an entire Sunday morning. Large cuts of beef or pork simmer for hours in tomato sauce until the meat almost collapses. The sauce is served over pasta, and the meat comes out separately as a second course. The dish reflects Naples perfectly: patience, intensity, and deep emotion. The second dish is called Genovese. Despite the name that sounds like Genoa, the dish is pure Naples. Genovese is made from an extraordinary amount of onions, slow-cooked down with beef until they melt into a rich, sweet, and savory sauce. No tomatoes, just thyme, onions, meat, and devotion. It's one of the most beloved Neapolitan dishes and one of the most revealing. Another dish is pasta e patate. Pasta cooked directly with potatoes, often in a provola cheese, creating a creamy, comforting texture. This is cucina povera at its best, poor cooking, born from necessity and perfected through repetition. Naples, of course, is a port city and known for seafood dishes. You can look for spaghetti alle vongole, which is clams, impepata di cozze, which are mussels, or frittura di paranza, which is mixed fried seafood. These dishes rely on freshness, not embellishment. Another dinner I will mention is Parmigiana di melanzane. This is layered eggplant, tomato sauce, basil, and cheese baked until molten and rich, kind of like lasagna. Every family has a version, and everyone believes theirs is the correct one. Okay, next we're going to talk about where to eat. Dinner by the sea. After finishing our walk at Castel dell'Ovo, Naples offers one of the greatest pleasures, which is dinner by the water. I have to be honest, For my family, Naples is quite simply the food capital of Italy. And because of that, I owe you an apology. I'm not choosing just one favorite place for dinner. These recommendations were shaped with the help of my friend Georgia, who lives in Naples her whole life and knows the city the way only a local can. In Naples, dinner is not about chasing the best restaurant. It's about choosing the right place for the moment. By the sea, in a small harbor, in a neighborhood that feels alive, with food that respects tradition rather than reinvents it. In Naples, if you eat where the locals eat, you will eat well every time. Our first stop is along the Lungomare Caracciolo, an evergreen choice. Restaurants along the Lungomare Caracciolo are classic for a reason. Walking here at dusk, along the water, with Mount Vesuvius across the bay, and the city behind you feels timeless. Restaurants along the Lungomare are known for seafood-focused menus, simple preparations, and views that do most of the talking. It's an ideal way to end the day of walking, especially if you want an atmosphere without complication. We ate at Borgo Marinari. Right beside Castel dell'Ovo sits Borgo Marinari, a small enclave of restaurants perched directly over the water. This area feels intimate and local, even though it's central. Boats bob just below the tables. Conversations carry softly across the harbor, one of the most pleasant places in Naples for a relaxed evening meal, especially at sunset. The pairing works beautifully for castle views and dinner. I will tell you that our first time in Naples, we did not realize how late they eat. And I think we came to this area at maybe 6 o'clock, and there was a waiter in a restaurant willing to help us, but it's definitely too early. It's more of a 9 p.m. dinner location because of its Spanish history. So just be aware of that. After that, I made reservations and I was aware, but I think we actually arrived before the place was even open because 6 o'clock is very early for dinner, but we were hungry. Okay, for something deeply romantic and rooted in Neapolitan culture, head to Mare Chiaro. Mare Chiaro, as its name indicates, is famous for its seafood restaurants and for inspiring the beloved Neapolitan song Finesta ca Lucive, better known as La Finestella. Dining here connects naturally to that story, blending music, poetry, and the sea. Restaurants in this area are known for fresh seafood, simple traditional recipes, and a quiet, more reflective atmosphere than the historic center. I also want to mention Pizza Madre. If you want something closer to the core, Pizza Madre, created by Salvatore Di Matteo, is an excellent choice. While rooted in pizza tradition, it's not just a pizzeria. It expands to broader cooking, including pastas. It's very characteristic, warm, and thoughtfully designed. It works well because its location is near Piazza Municipio, which is convenient if you're heading toward the ferries, hotels, or out for an evening stroll. Next, we're going to talk about some of the immersive experiences in this part 1, but we'll also complete them in part 2. The first thing I mentioned earlier, and that's Napoli Sotterranea. That's descending between Napoli. It's one of the most powerful immersive experiences in the city. It's Greek foundations, Roman aqueducts, wartime shelters. And I think it belongs firmly in this experience category. Experience is certainly climbing Mount Vesuvius. It puts you face to face with the force that shaped Naples' land, psychology, and faith for centuries. The trail begins near the crater rim, and we were told it would take 30 minutes to reach the top. That may be true for some, but let me be honest. We consider ourselves avid hikers, and it took us closer to an hour, probably because we wanted to stop and look in the crater. We wanted to look over the viewpoints. The path is steep, it's uneven, and it's got loose volcanic gravel. So it's not difficult in a technical sense, but it did take more than 30 minutes. At the base, you'll see walking sticks available for rent. Many people find them helpful on the ascent and the descent. For me, it was easier to climb without one, moving at my own rhythm and stopping for the viewpoints along the way. As you climb, the landscape changes and the vegetation thins, the air sharpens, and in places you catch the smell of sulfur. The smell reminds you that this volcano is not asleep. Steam vents and dark rock formations make it very clear that this is not a scenic hill, it's a force temporarily at rest. As you reach the top, the crater opens before you, vast and unsettling, and the entire Bay of Naples stretches out below you. The city, the sea, the coastline, the islands floating in the distance. From here, all of the Bay of Naples looks magnificent. Moving along the coastline, you can see the cities of Portici, Torre del Greco, Torre Annunziata, To the southeast, your eye follows the coastline toward Castelmare di Stabia, another Roman-era site shaped by the same eruption that destroyed Pompeii. And then there's the sea. Floating in the Bay of Naples, often perfectly framed by the crater rim, are the islands of Capri, Ischia, and Procida. Also, I'll mention there's a small cafe at the top, if you can call it that. It's got picnic tables. We grabbed a soda and a snack and simply stood there taking in the view. In this episode, I also want to get started talking about taking a boat ride to the islands or along the Amalfi Coast or both. Naples is a port city. The sea is part of daily life. By sea, Naples is at its most expansive. We took a private boat experience, but before I tell you about that, I want to let you know that Naples is exceptionally well connected by ferry. You do not need a private boat to explore the bay. From Naples, ferries and hydrofoils, which are faster ferries, run frequently throughout the day from the main ports near the historic center, especially Molo Beverello, a Calata Porta di Massa. Boats connect Naples to Capri, Ischia, and Procida with regular schedules from the early morning into the evening. It's efficient, affordable, and very doable for travelers. That said, we chose something else. I decided to charter a private boat with a captain for 2 full days, departing from the port near Castel dell'Ovo. It was one of those decisions that completely reshaped the trip and our memories. 2 days sounded indulgent when we booked it. In reality, it was not enough. I wish we had added a 3rd day, and I would do this again without hesitation. I will tell you, when I did this, it was maybe 2012, and so things were not as expensive as they are now. It still was expensive, but it was absolutely worth the experience. On day 1, we did Capri, but before reaching Capri, we spent time around Procida, and it deserves a special mention. Procida is the smallest of the islands, long overshadowed by its glamorous neighbors. That changed when it was named Italy's Capital of Culture in 2022, a recognition that celebrated its authenticity, maritime traditions, and everyday life rather than spectacle. From the water, Procida is unforgettable. Pastel-colored houses stacked above the harbor, fishing boats tied up below, laundry moving in the breeze. Procida reminds you that beauty does not need scale to matter. Procida's annual festival, by the way, is on Good Friday, and it's the Processione dei Misteri. This procession is one of the most moving Holy Week traditions in Italy. Residents carry elaborate, handcrafted tableaux depicting the scenes from the Passion of Christ through the island's streets at dawn. The tableaux are large sculpture constructions built by families and groups made of wood, papier-mâché, fabric, and painted figures, and they're designed to depict specific moments from the Passion of Christ. Okay, back to the ride. We headed first to Capri, arriving in the late morning, when the light is at its best. This was the captain's recommendation because timing matters. He said based on the location that the late morning is best viewing of this beautiful cave. To better understand the Grotto Azzurra, as it's called in Italian, our captain arranged for us to transfer into a small wooden rowboat called the lancione. These boats are narrow and low to the water, and they're hand-rowed, designed specifically to slip through the impossibly small opening of the cave. With you in the boat, the local boatman, who does this every day, someone who knows the tides, the timing, and exactly how to maneuver through the entrance. This is not improvised. It's a technical skill required to get through the hole at the right time. You have to lie back in the boat as the hole approaches so you don't bump your head. The ceiling drops low, and for that moment, you're sliding into the cave. Then the water glows an electric blue, illuminated by sunlight refracting through the underwater opening. The late morning light made it almost surreal, like floating in a liquid sapphire. It's one of those experiences that lives beyond photographs. You will remember the color more than anything. Beyond the Blue Grotto, we also explored Capri's other sea caves, including the Green Grotto with its emerald reflections. The captain got us close and we swam into the cave. It ends at a sandy beach after a few meters of swimming. We also visited the White Grotto, dramatic and chalky against the cliffs. In several spots, we swam directly out from the boat, slipping into clear water framed by towering rock. At one point, my son climbed up on the rocks and jumped off the cliffs with the other kids. The jump itself was easy. The hard part was climbing up first. You have to climb up with a rope ladder, gripping slippery stone while waves move below. It was a mix of courage, laughter, and trust. For lunch, our captain dropped us at a seaside restaurant on Capri, where the fish was fresh caught, simply prepared, and the sea was just a few feet away. Capri itself was more than glamour. When you arrive by ferry, you're going to dock at Marina Grande, the island's main harbor. From here, getting up into town is part of the experience. You can take the Funicolare di Capri, that's the funicular, a short but dramatic ride that climbs from the port to the main piazza in Capri town. Buses and taxis also run continuously, winding their way up the narrow roads carved into the hillside. Beyond the port, the island rises toward Capri, quieter, more residential, with sweeping views and slower rhythm. This can be reached by bus or taxi. Even from the water, you sense that Capri holds multiple personalities. The lively harbor, the polished piazza, and the calmer heights above. When we were working our way by boat around the island, our captain taught us that beauty and brutality have always existed side by side here. When the Roman Emperor Tiberius retreated here in AD 27, he ruled the empire from above the sea at Villa Jovis, one of the island's highest and most isolated points. Ancient sources describe Capri during this period as a place of power and fear. From the sheer cliffs below the villa, condemned prisoners were reportedly forced to leap to their deaths, plunging straight into the sea. The site is still known today as the Salto di Tiberio, the jump of Tiberius, a reminder that Capri's postcard views once served as instruments of imperial terror. Back on the water, the island reveals a very different kind of drama. One of the most unforgettable moments we had on the boat was passing through the Faraglioni, the towering sea stacks rising just offshore. With our captain at the helm, we glided directly through the natural arch of the middle stack, a massive opening carved by centuries of wind and waves. The boat slipped through the stone, light reflects off the water, and the scale of the rock suddenly and immediately was overwhelming at the same time. It was an exhilarating moment. Capri holds many personalities at once: imperial refuge, place of exile, natural wonder, and living island. I also will mention Capri's festival, which is the Festa di San Costanzo. It's held on May 14th. San Costanzo is Capri's patron saint, and his festival blends religious devotion with island celebration. Events include processions, music, and fireworks, often centered around the Maria Grande area where the ferries arrive. The festival marks the beginning of the warmer season and local life shifting outdoors. It's a rare glimpse of Capri, a lived-in community rather than a luxury destination. We also visited the island of Ischia. This is a land shaped by volcanic forces in a gentler, more nurturing way. One of the most interesting things we did here was we swam directly from our boat toward a small beach where hot springs bubble up naturally beside the sea. It's not a spa, no ticket, no structure, just nature. People can climb down from the rocks of Ischia or they can approach from the water. As we swam, the temperature changed around us. It was freezing cold at the boat, and then it got lukewarm and warm. And by the time you got to the spot where people were doing their spa day, it was almost boiling. This is hot mineral water surging up from below. It was certainly one of the strangest and most memorable swims I've ever experienced. Floating at the meeting point of sea and geothermal heat, you feel the earth working beneath you. That evening, we had a wonderful dinner near the marina on the island of Ischia. The island is quiet as the sun set. It felt grounded, local, and deeply satisfying after a day on the water. Ischia's festival takes place on July 26, and it's the Festa di Santa Anna, celebrating the Mother of the Virgin Mary. The Festa is Ischia's most famous festival, celebrated in the Bay of Carta Romana, beneath the Aragonese castle. The highlight is a spectacular nighttime event featuring illuminated boats, floats, performances, and fireworks over the water. The festival blends religion, maritime tradition, and theatrical storytelling. It's one of the most memorable summer festivals in southern Italy. Naples is not a city you simply visit once, it's a city you come back to. And with that said, I'm going to end our visit to Naples here, but we've got many more experiences, day trips, and other sites to see in episode 2 of this Regional Capitals of Italy series. So please join me next Friday and we'll continue with the second day of our boat ride, as well as places you can visit by train and beautiful beach with lots of sand for those of you who want to spend a day in the sun. Thank you for spending time with me this week as we visited the first part of Napoli and the Amalfi Coast. Until next time, travel slowly, travel deeply, and let the cities tell their stories.